People, let's talk Deontay Wilder. He makes his return to the ring this coming Friday, and I don't like. There's no point really previewing the card because there's not really like I kind of talked about the card very briefly on Review of the Week, and like people complain about the zone pay-per-views and say, "Oh, the card's not This is pay-per-view in the US BLK Prime, and there's literally nobody on the undercard. Like this is really bad. Deontay Wilder is going in there against Terrell Herndon, I believe his name is, a very obscure fighter who's been stopped by the likes of F.A. Ajagba, by Richard Torres. He was F.A. Ajagba's debutant opponent. They don't, unless you're Vasily Lomachenko or someone really, really good, really highly touted, you're not normally going to get match tough on your pro debut. And this is the guy Deontay Wilder is fighting. And again, I don't want this to be a kind of prediction video. Well, it is a prediction video. I guess that's what it is. But it's more of a, like, how far Wilder has truly fallen. Like, really, when you think about it, that this is what we're having to talk about. This caliber of fighter. And furthermore, like, the fact that he is still trying his damnedest to get one last payday, and his team. I mean, it just speaks volume to me over the situation in his career now. As I said in a separate video, I listened to him on Ariel Hawali about a week or so ago, and he's being compared to Anthony Joshua. Eddie Hearn clearly wants to do that fight. I think Turkey clearly wanted to do that fight. I think that had Deontay Wilder beaten Zhilei Zhang last year, which that was a big if even then, we knew Wilder wasn't looking the best. But had he beaten Zhilei Zhang last year, I suspect, again it's only suspicion, I suspect we wouldn't be talking about Joshua Dubois and the debacle for Team Anthony Joshua that it was. Because I think that even without a title, they would have looked to do, and I think Turkey was even alluding to it, they would have looked to have done Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua September last year as opposed to Daniel Dubois. I think that was really the plan. I think that fight still has marketability. It's a bit like the Fury fight, to a lesser extent anyway. The Fury fight is a much, much bigger fight in the UK. I think that the US audience, they will take to that fight, yes, the US audience, but I think primarily it's a big fight in the UK, a much bigger fight in the UK than it probably is in the US. Not as big as Fury versus Joshua, of course, but there would still be an audience who'd be interested in it. And I think Turkey knew that last year, and I think there still probably is now. And that's one of the reasons why I think they've selected this opponent for Deontay Wilder. It's an opponent that he can look good against while he's clearly not at his best. And again, I go back to Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua looks in a really good headspace. All right, he really does. He looks in a good headspace to be enjoying himself. I know he's out injured, so he obviously can't fight, but he just seems to be very content with things. Wilder, on the other hand, boy, I don't personally like what I'm seeing and hearing from him. And I just feel as though Wilder's heart probably hasn't been in this sport probably for nearly 4 years. The last time his heart was probably truly in this game was when he fought Fury nearly 4 years ago. I think ever since then, Wilder has just checked out mentally. And checking out mentally is like a sport like boxing, especially heavyweight. You're just asking for trouble. Wilder was someone who, in his prime, pretty much everyone he faced, in fact, like, genuinely, pretty much, when I think about it, pretty much everyone he faced had better technique. Apart from, like, obviously you're looking at, like, the 32 opponents he fought before he fought Bermane Stiverne, where he knocked them all out. Yeah, there was guys like Malik Scott, Calvin Price, who had better technique, but for the most part, probably you could say Wilder had slightly better technique than the majority of them. Like that Dustin, what was his name? Dustin Cook, the big, massive 400-pounder. That big, huge guy, yeah, he probably didn't have good technique, but for the most part, they probably have better technique. So the majority of people Wilder's fought, even some of those obscure fighters, probably still had better technique than Deontay Wilder. Probably had better fundamentals, right? But Wilder got by with just that raw power, that aggression, everything, that hunter's mindset. He was the hunter. He was hunting something, whether it was a world title or whether it was a paycheck to provide for his daughter who had still does have spina bifida. That's why he got into boxing. He got into boxing to provide, and he had a hunger, he had a desire. That desire is long since gone. That desire went, I fully believe, October the 9th, 2021. I believe that moment in time, that desire completely went from Deontay Wilder. and now he's carrying on for reasons I do not know. I really don't. He talks about boxing. He spoke about very openly about wanting to, end somebody, wanting something on his record. He spoke about that. When he talked about, and he would do the hush voice, I mean, this is a guy, and I'm going to say it even if the YouTube algorithms don't like it. This is a guy, and it wasn't a good thing to say. I'm not endorsing it and saying what this was, the appropriate thing to do. I'm not doing that in the slightest. But this is a guy who said that when he fought Dominic Breazeale, he wanted his son ringside, Dominic Breazeale's son ringside, so that his son could look into the eyes of the man who crippled his dad. That's what Deontay Wilder said, right? Words to that, I'm pretty sure that's verbatim what he said. He has said some outrageous things in the past, right? And that was one of the reasons why he was able to win fights that he was not the better fighter in them. He just had that burning desire to win. He wanted to hurt people. He wanted to get the stoppage. He wanted to get the knockout. And that's what he kept doing. He ran into Tyson Fury. It all was derailed. He almost won. He almost won the first fight, and he almost won the third fight. Second fight, we won't talk about that. He was never going to win that one. But you saw the delusion after the second fight come out. Fury cheated. Mark Breland was an inside man. It was a ploy for all these years. I mean, imagine, 10 years they were planning this whole thing to get Deontay Wilder in the ring in Las Vegas, I think it was, February 2020. That was all in the works, Tyson Fury's, mental breakdown. That was all planned. Really, Deontay, really. It was the suit. It was an injury. His brother said he had an autopsy. I mean, man out here thinking he's E.T. coming back to life after an autopsy. What the hell? So, we saw the delusion come out of Deontay Wilder. Now it just seems like there's contentment there. Contentment is probably the wrong word. It just seems like there's acceptance. That's probably the better word. Acceptance now with Deontay Wilder. And with that, his power is gone. I mean, it's not gone, but he's not relying on it. He's not going to the well to use it. His boxing ability is non-existent. He's nearly 40 years old. He's taken some punishment. I mean, those two Fury fights were the equivalent of a car crash. He was knocked out brutally against Zhilei Zhang. The man, in my opinion, again, it is my opinion, he doesn't need to be going in. He doesn't need to be doing this. He's set for life. He spoke about boxing being very dangerous, which again is stark contrast to how we used to speak about it a couple of years ago. And now I think he's collecting. And collecting memories, maybe not good memories, but that's essentially what he's doing. I think he should get the win this weekend. I expect Deontay Wilder to win this fight probably early. If he doesn't, then we really do have some problems. But I expect him to win this fight reasonably early, by knockout in the first couple of rounds. I will watch it. I won't do a watch along because I don't know by what means I am going to watch it, if the Zone are going to show it or what, I don't know. But I expect him to win this fight early. I expect him to look somewhat devastating doing it. And the worrying thing is I expect him to carry on his career, regardless who's in his team, whether it's, Finkel, whether it's Malik Scott, whether it's JD's guy or whatever. I think the people pulling the strings of Deontay Wilder, who are telling him what he needs to hear, all they care about is lining their own pockets. I mean, again, I don't want to sound disrespectful to his team, but JD's, who has he ever trained before or after Deontay Wilder? Literally nobody. How much money has he made throughout the course of his career? Probably F all. Likewise Malik Scott, right? If he even is Deontay Wilder's trainer for this fight. How much money has he made as a fighter? Probably not a great deal. How much money has he made as a trainer? Probably a nice little amount managing or certainly training Deontay Wilder. So you get what I mean. All they're interested in is milking whatever is left of Deontay Wilder. They clearly don't have his best interest at heart, because if they had his best interest at heart, they would look at him and they'd say, enough's enough. You have a legacy to go back on. You were a long reigning, although you didn't do much with it, you were a long reigning WBC heavyweight champion. For what it's worth, you'll always be in the history books for being WBC world heavyweight champion. You defended it about 10 times, which is, you probably have more title defenses than Tyson Fury, to be fair, when you think about it. As a whole, you really do have more than Tyson Fury over one than he did over two, irrespective of the level of opposition, right? And it was terrible. But anyhow, you were willing to go to Russia to fight Povetkin. Didn't happen, not your fault. You were willing to fight Luis Ortiz, where at the time he was seen as somewhat of a feared man. I remember he was meant to fight Carlos Takam, or there was talk of him fighting Carlos Takam in 2020 or early 2017. They were talking about it in or was it? It was sometime in 2016, 2017 when he signed with Matchroom. Takam, fight never happened. signed to fight Johan Duhaupas instead. You know, that kind of showed that Ortiz, by people like Takam, who was a tough man, who were kind of like, see some other avenues. Wilder, again, or how good was Ortiz, it doesn't matter. The perception at the time was still that, okay, he's tough, and Wilder's willing to do it. So he has somewhat of a legacy to fall back on. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I think he needs to quit. I obviously, we'll see how he looks on Friday, but I just don't want this story, because he doesn't sound in the best headspace. I just don't want this story to end, I don't want to say in tragedy, but I don't want this to end in tears. That's the best way. I want Wilder to leave the sport. And this is the thing I always say, and I always want to see fighters. And I guess you look at someone like Tyson Fury. I don't buy his retirement, right? I don't believe it. But if he is retired, well, he's retired on his terms. And I think that's the way in any aspect of life, whether it be boxing, whether it be a job. If you're going to leave something, if you're going to walk away from something, in particular like boxing, a relationship, a job, things like that, you really need to walk away on your terms. Because if you're not walking away on your terms, you're always feeling like there's something missing, or this has retired me, I've not retired from it. You know, Lennox Lewis walked away on his terms. Rocky Marciano walked away on his terms. The great Muhammad Ali didn't. He should have, when he realistically, you know, after he beat George Foreman, or after the Frazier trilogy or the Norton trilogy, God knows what might have happened if that was the case. But he didn't walk away on his terms. The sport did. The sport retired him. And that's sad. You want to see a fighter walk away on their own terms and not have people like me saying what I've just said in this video. So, they have a long-winded one. I guess it's not really a prediction of such, because there's not really much to predict. I expect Wilder to win. If he doesn't, then we really do got a problem. I mean, God forbid. I can't imagine a scenario where he doesn't win, but I mean, stranger things have happened, I guess, at the end of the day. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, people, smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. And until next time, peace.